She hears footsteps, and right above her head is a hand.
But it's worse than that. It's not just in the apartment.
I'm Teresita Bassa. I was murdered in my apartment.
And she loved when James got to witness that.
My name is Corinne Vien.
I'm Sabrina Deana-Roga.
I'm Dan.
Hey, I'm Lindsay.
I'm Jake Brennan.
I'm Dr. Michelle Ward, and this is the wildest shit I have ever heard.
This is a story sent in to us from our listener, Tegan. Tegan and her brother, Danny, love to go camping.
So it's fall 2017 in Carver, Massachusetts. The air is crisp. The smell of the leaves.
They hiked, they fished, and then as night began to fall, they're like, let's set up camp.
And easily and peacefully drift off.
The last thing Tegan remembers before she falls asleep is her brother, Danny, saying, good night.
But then she wakes up. She looks across the tent, and Danny is missing. And she realizes that all of the sounds from the forest have gone dead. She hears footsteps, and right above her head is a hand reaching down, pressing into the tent. She realizes that now this hand is not an ordinary hand. It's definitely not Danny's hand. This hand has 7 fingers.
And then this voice calls her name. But here's the weird thing. Danny has never called Tegan by her name. Since Tegan was little, he would call her Sissy. So this is really weird. Why is he saying her name? Now scared, she chokes out, Danny, what are you doing? And this time, it says to her,
Come on out. It's beautiful out here. The stars.
The moment it left, all the sounds of the woods came back. Then she runs out of the tent looking for her brother Danny and finds him standing in the woods. He's calling for her, saying, Sissy, where are you?
She realizes this has to be Danny because he's actually calling me by my correct name. The two get together. He said that he left the tent because he heard her calling for him, saying, Danny, Danny, come outside. Danny, Danny, come outside.
Come on out. It's beautiful out here. So sure enough, they packed up their things and got the fuck out of there. Tegan and Danny
Looked up the campsite later, and they realized that where they were was a campsite that had 2 unsolved murders and so many paranormal encounters.
Come on out.
If people became bad because they had bad childhoods, wouldn't everyone from a war-torn country be bad the next generation? If being abused as a child was all it took, wouldn't all abused children become killers? That's not the case. I dove into the science of it because there was an individual predisposition that we really needed to identify, genes. And biology, head injuries, that was largely ignored for a very long time. So that was exciting to me to bring the science into the biology of why somebody becomes a killer. This serial killer, to me, is one of the scariest because the very person who's supposed to be keeping you alive is secretly killing you, and that's Kristen Gilbert. Kristen Gilbert is an incredible mother, wife, and nurse. She's bringing baked goods to the desk every time she's on shift. She's arranging drinks for everybody at the VFW after work. Everyone loves Kristen Gilbert. And Kristen Gilbert was incredible at what she does. When something would go very wrong with the patient, Kristen Gilbert was always the first one to show up. The other nurses started calling her the angel of death, but in like a joking way. It was almost a term of endearment because people started dying in greater numbers on Kristen's shift. And they're like, oh boy, Kristen's you again. Uh-oh, warn the patients. Meanwhile, Kristen notices the new security guard, James Proult. He's good looking. So she starts getting in shape, looking fantastic, and begins to have an affair. She's married to Glenn, who's just this very even-keeled guy. But she starts telling her coworkers that she wants him out by Thanksgiving. One day, according to Glenn, this has not been proven, he started suspecting that she was poisoning his food. And she offered to administer something to him that made him even sicker. She injects him with something. He loses consciousness, and that was it. He survived, but he believes, and he says, that she tried to kill him. Kristen would get tremendous accolades for her ability to bring people back from the brink of death, and she loved when James got to witness that. Kind of kooky things start happening. For example, there was this one guy who crashed 4 times, 4 emergencies in one night. And when that happens, Kristen gets to run and save the day. She jumps on them. She's, giving the CPR. But the doctor's like, this is an otherwise really healthy patient. So everyone's like, this is getting weirder and weirder. One night, she goes to her supervising nurse and said, if Kenneth dies, can I leave early? And the supervising nurse is like, I guess. That's really weird. And then Kenneth dies. Some of the nurses start getting suspicious. They start watching her behavior. They're like, okay, let's start counting all of these deaths. And they start counting epinephrine vials. Kristen is spotted kind of clandestinely walking in to Stanley Jagodowski's room with a syringe. Moments later, he is screaming, stop, stop, you're killing me. And then she kind of floats out quickly as to try to avoid being noticed. Immediately afterward, Stanley Jagodowski goes into cardiac arrest and dies. It is so incredibly easy what she did. She literally saunters in, injects the epinephrine into the port on the tube of the IV, and walks out. It's all done in a matter of seconds. The only pattern that Kristen Gilbert had is convenience. If she missed James, somebody might need to die. If she wanted to go home, somebody might need to die. Or if she wanted accolades for saving somebody, if she needed a little, ego boost, somebody's gonna die. In the end, Kristen Gilbert was convicted of 4 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder and was sentenced to life in prison. But there is no telling how many people died at the hands of Kristen Gilbert.
My favorite horror movie is The Exorcist. It's not only horror, it's also a great movie about faith and how faith can overcome the devil. The scariest true crime story from music history is about Texas rapper Big Lurch. Big Lurch was not your ordinary run-of-the-mill rapper. He was huge. He was 6'7", he was intimidating. He walked into the room, you noticed him, he was impossible to miss. And this is 2002. 2002, you've got boy bands. 2002, you've got Britney Spears. 2002, you've got hip hop trying to figure out what it's gonna be after the deaths of Tupac and Biggie. And this guy goes in a completely other direction. Big Lurch rapped about Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street, Jeffrey Dahmer, vampires injecting victims with kerosene and battery acid. This guy's persona was horrorcore. And Big Lurch wasn't shy about drugs either. He was into what is known as smoking wet, which is the practice of dipping joints in formaldehyde, the fluid they use to embalm dead bodies. On April 10th, 2002, Big Lurch, completely high, hallucinating, had a psychotic break. Imagine you're making your debut album. Your brain is scrambled eggs with PCP. You have serial killers on the brain 24/7. And you have all this psychotic energy and imagery. It's all building. All of this is swelling up inside of him. He has no idea who he is at that moment. He has no idea what's going on. All he can focus on is the devil. The devil there in his apartment. And he knows, he's the only one who knows, in his brain anyways, that the world is going to end. That's why the devil was sent there, to end humanity. But it's worse than that. It's not just in the apartment. It's inside his roommate, in her stomach. And Big Lurch is the only one who can get the devil out. He completely snaps, grabs his roommate, drags her into the kitchen, slams her down, grabs a paring knife, starts to rip her stomach open, takes his hand and reaches in to feel for the devil, to grab the devil, to extract the devil. There's no devil there. Big Lurch reaches up, tries to grab his roommate's heart, can't find the heart, grabs her lung and rips it out. Big Lurch takes the lung, mashes it into his mouth, and starts to satiate his hunger. He's covered in blood. He strips off his clothes, completely naked, flees the apartment, runs down Figueroa. LAPD catch up to him in the middle of the afternoon. The cops show up. He thinks the cops are there to help him. But of course, they're there to subdue him. And they do so, they take him into custody, and before they do that, they find that he's gnawing on a piece of his roommate's lung. The moral of the story is that the devil is real. The devil, figuratively, literally, however you want to categorize Satan, will find its way to those who are open to receiving him.
I'm not a religious person. Religion doesn't speak to me, but the paranormal does. I think I want to believe that there is something after our lives here, that there is, life after death in some form. And, digging into all these stories has, for me, proven that there is something else. And that's fascinating to me. So the story begins with Teresita Basa.
This amazing, totally brave, strong woman who grew up in the Philippines, traveled the world, and has decided to move to Chicago to live the life she's always dreamed of.
She seemed well-liked by everybody.
Why's it always gotta be those people?
Sadly, in 1977, when she is 47, that becomes a complete nightmare. She is, living her life, and then all of a sudden, her neighbor starts smelling smoke come out of her apartment. First responders, break down the door, rush into her apartment. They find her charred, nude body under a pile of debris, and she had been stabbed in the chest. Detectives are investigating this case, but they don't have much to go on. They really just have one clue as to the killer's possible identity, and it's a note that just says, "Get theater tickets for AS," but they have no idea who that is, and within weeks, it looks like this is gonna be an unsolved murder. 5 months later, the detective gets a call, and there's a doctor who says that his wife, Remy, has information that could break this case wide open. He's like, yeah, so a few weeks ago, my wife pops up in the middle of the bed and claims that she is not my wife. She is a ghost named Teresita Basa.
I'm Teresita Basa. I was murdered in my apartment by Alan Showery. He came to fix my TV. Instead, he stabbed me, he stole from me, and then he set my apartment on fire to cover it up. You must avenge me.
And then he just kind of placates her like, goes back to bed, just pretends the whole thing never happened.
How rude.
But then it happens again, and she is now pissed.
What are you doing? I said you need to find my murderer.
You gotta give me more information. I need names, numbers. I have to go to the police with evidence.
And then she does. She gives 4 names, 4 phone numbers, and proceeds to tell them that Alan Showery's girlfriend is wearing the jewelry that he stole from Teresita Basa.
And so the police are intrigued now because obviously Alan Showery matches AS, the note from the apartments. They call the hospital where Alan actually did work at the same hospital as Teresita, so that further intrigues them. They asked some coworkers of both Alan and Teresita, do you remember Alan talking about fixing Teresita's TV that day? And they say yes. Just like this woman said in her dream when she says, I know I'm Teresita. So like, oh wow, that's crazy. So now the detectives have a bunch of information to confront Alan with. They do so, and he folds pretty much immediately and confesses to everything. And everything he confesses to lines up perfectly with what the possessed nurse told her doctor husband. Unfortunately, even though they have this confession, they go to trial, but then a few weeks later, there's some type of procedural error, and the trial ends at a hung jury. Now it looks like Alan's gonna get away with murder. A few weeks go by, they think there's gonna be a new trial. People are worried that he is going to be found not guilty. And then randomly, he confesses for a second time, and they think that the reason he confessed again is because Teresita Basa's spirit showed up and made it clear that she will haunt him forever if he doesn't.
Alan, I'll find you. I'm coming after you now.
In the end, Alan Showery was convicted of robbery, arson, and murder.
The fear of spiders being close to me at night and me sleeping with my mouth open.
Oh yeah, them crawling up your nose.
Yeah.
Laying eggs.
Oh God, that wasn't part of it, but now it is.
The devil? Shitty music?
Hunger keeps me up at nights.
What, like world hunger or your own hunger?
My own, no. I'm not okay with world hunger, but I don't think about it.
Never having a really healthy relationship.
One time, I told somebody I loved my dog so much that I would breastfeed it if I could. That keeps me up at night.